Welcome to Conversate, our podcast where we engage in conversation. As Christmas is approaching, it's possible you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed. Maybe it's not with bad things, but with a whole bunch of good stuff in front of you. But what do we do? What kind of attitude do we have when there's so much going on? So many opportunities, so many things, but also so many stressors and hardships. Is there a place for calm, a place for peace? Are we going to hear those words of God, be still, and actually follow through on it? Well, that's the conversation that Kevin and I are having today on this week's episode of the podcast. And so, again, if you're feeling those ways, overwhelmed or stressed or anxious, I think that this is going to be a good episode for you to take the words of God seriously and to be still and know that He is your God. We hope you enjoyed this conversation.
Whoa! I was hoping you only caught. Oh shoot! We better not just dive in. Well, let's just dive in.
Let's just dive in. What do you think?
Welcome
to Conversate. That doesn't get old. That's a nice cue.
Yeah, short, sweet, funky.
Yeah. Have you ever worked on your radio voice?
No. I mean,
it is fascinating because there's some podcasts that I only listen to. I don't read them. You don't read them? I don't read them, but I don't watch them. So they like ours is, available on YouTube, but you can also just listen to it.
Oh, that's right.
So there are some podcasts where I've only listened to them and I've seen pictures of the people who host the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but I've never seen like an actual video of that person talking. So it's just weird. I don't know. It's always weird to like picture the people that
are the voices.
Yeah.
Was it more? Did it have to do with you just would not have imagined the person with a voice like that looking?
Yes.
Yes.
Which I don't know what I was picturing they did look like, but it wasn't that.
Growing up in my hometown, I don't even remember the name of the radio station, but in Quincy, Illinois, where I grew up, there's a radio station. There's only 4 radio stations in town that were worth listening to. And this was like the local one, and the bus always played it. And these guys were great. They were entertaining, like they were witty. Then they had those nice, radio talk voice, kind of like that, And then I saw them one day, and they look like hillbillies.
Really?
It was great. Yeah, I'm not trying to be mean about it, but they were just a little bigger than I thought. They had less hair than I thought. They were older than I thought, and they still sounded amazing. They had a face for radio.
That's what they say.
I don't know if I got any of the qualities for radio, but
I don't have a face or a voice.
I'm a disembodied head.
Well, how was your weekend, Kevin? Did you do anything exciting?
Absolutely. Weekend was great. On Saturday, I went to my first children's birthday party. That's not true. I went to my first children's birthday party as a dad. Oh. I've been to children's birthday parties. A lot of fun. Yeah. Try and hit as many as I can on the weekends. Yeah. But no, this is the first time going not only as a dad to my daughter, which was fun just to kind of see her interact and connect and whatever, but it was also with some of her classmates who we get to see, periodically or occasionally at the church because they go to the ELC. And it was kind of fun to see them on a different turf and hanging out. And so that was fun. I had that, and then another little holiday shindig, but you were at that one.
I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was good too. That was good too. Except I lost in bags. That was sad.
Yeah.
How about you, man? How was your weekend?
Well, our holiday shindig was a little staff and family get together, and so I've been getting into smoking some meat, and so I spent my weekend smoking meat. So that was fun.
Yeah,
it turned out great.
Sounds lovely.
It was wonderful.
Yeah, and now it's like, I don't know about you, but this week for us is kind of party central. Well, not party central, but we get Advent on Wednesday, party. Thursday, we're doing our life group is getting together for like our Christmas hang. And then we got another Christmas hang on Friday. And Saturday's Sunday school practice. So now like that whole thing about being still.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of crunch time, you know?
Yeah. We've been doing Advent devotions at home with our family. We got a new book this year. It's called Shadow and Light. It's actually been really, really neat. Our kids really enjoy it. There's just a really short little devotion, and then it gives you a song to listen to, and then a piece of artwork to look at. So it's simple. It was written by a mom with kids who wanted something that was understandable from across ages, but was meaningful to all ages, but also, accessible. And I'm a fan of it. So it's called I think it's called Shadow and Light. Yeah. But one of those Advent devotions was talking about like all the Christmas parties that come up, and not to. It wasn't don't go to them, but and what kind of attitude are you going to live? Are you going to live life? And I think that's what we're trying to remind ourselves of in this sermon series of Be Still. Is what kind of attitude do we have about life? As we're facing the inevitable storms and the conflicts and the stresses and the fears. All those things. So they're inevitable. They're going to happen. And
even the positive things is kind of what, on this side of you're talking about parties and things like these aren't things that you would normally think of as, oh, the water's swelling and roaring and fun. Like, oh no, this is like things I've chosen to get myself into because it sounded fun, or like, I'm connected to these people. I like these people. And I think the same goes when you have kids and you think about, oh, I wanted them to have this or that opportunity. I wanted them to grow in this or that skill or ability. But there still sometimes comes a flood even in that. Or maybe those words be still are equally as poignant for us to hear in even the positive sort of situations when life is maybe getting cluttered.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, go ahead.
But I've had that conversation many times with many. Often it's with families with kids who are caught in this cycle of no shortage of good opportunities for their family and for their kids, and so you just do everything, and I know a lot of people that's burned, they just burned out on life, and even though everything you're doing is good. Sometimes it's too much,
Well, and that's what. So I wanted to pick your brain or have you flesh out maybe a little bit for us, because in your sermon Sunday, you talked about this idea of being still. When we said it a lot, and it's been kind of the framework and the key words: be still, be still. But you made the distinction that I thought was useful, saying then this doesn't mean don't do anything.
Yeah.
That's the point. God isn't trying to make is be really lethargic in your life and just kind of try not to do anything.
Yeah.
It's not that exactly, right?
No. And I after the fact, I realized I probably could have delved more into that, but we'll do it here.
For you lucky folk.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the intentionality for sure. So, it's not just, stop, relax, kick back. God's got it. Everything's going to be fine. Is that laissez-faire? Is that what they call that? Just right. Not a care in the world because God's got it, Okay. God does got it.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
But you are also involved in this life. And so we need to look at the scripture first in context though. And that's what I was trying to do in the sermon, which was, Psalm 46 was written into kind of a military type context as nations are raging and fighting and the world is chaotic. God speaks to it all and he says, be still warring nations, be still storm. Just stop. Just stand.
Cut it out.
Yeah. And know that I am God. I'm above all this. I will be exalted. I'll be higher than all these things. I am, and you will notice it. So but you got to pay attention.
Yeah.
And you got to stop with your the pettiness, stop with your bickering and your quarreling and your chaos, because the more that you pursue all those things, the less you'll see me.
That's what's striking me in this conversation, or thinking about when your life is very overwhelming, whether it's things outside of you that are making it overwhelming, or whether it's things you've chosen to do that are overwhelming your life, even if they're positive things. You take the phrase totally, right? So be still and know that I'm God. And you made that connection on Sunday as well. But it seems to me that's part of this, the notion of be still. It's not just do nothing because God's got it. I mean, that's basically like being like, oh, sweet, I don't have to think about anything. But no, we're actually beckoned to think very much about who particularly is in control. So I think there's that kind of self-check, right? So if things outside of your control are overwhelming you and it feels like this is just too much, there's no way I'm gonna get through. It's like, slow down, buddy. Hold up. Who do you trust in? What has he done in the past? What is he able to do? It's kind of like recognize who is actually God. But then if it's the positive side of things, if it's all these things I'm chasing after, and now I've maybe just overcommitted myself, or life is just this kind of frenzy or this blur, well, it's still the same invitation, right? Be still. And then think about where is God fitting into the calendar exactly, right? Like, I am God, remember, And I think that's at least when I think of my own overcommitments in my life, my existence, that's the question I think I'm failing to ask myself. But God is in this psalm. That's kind of where he's been hitting me, is like, yeah, where am I? Where am I in the stratus of your priorities or your obligations, the things you're doing? I do a lot of things on my Google Calendar. That's like the only way I remember to do things. There's a question there even, if someone looked at my calendar, or at least looked at my life as it's played out, would they see a space, for God?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, twice, I can think of twice in the Psalm, in Psalm 46, twice God has basically said, I'm here for you, right? I mean, verse 1, he's an ever-present help in times of trouble. So he's always there.
Right.
He's always present. He is Emmanuel, which means God with us. And is it verse 4 or verse 5, where he will help her when morning dawns?
God is in the midst of her.
Yeah, she should not be moved. So I mean, on a daily basis, every day the morning comes, he's there to help you. Yeah. And in every moment of that day, he's there to help you. And so constantly, always, in everything, God is present. Whether you acknowledge him or not, he is. But that's the command in be still is, do you notice? If you don't notice God's presence and his activity in your life because you're so distracted with whatever you're doing, then you got to cut it out for a minute so you notice his presence. Right? Just stop.
Well, I love the invitation too, because then it's not, and this is, I think, one way in which Christianity gets a bad rap, or maybe has a distorted idea out there, or people have a distorted idea of Christianity, because God isn't saying, yeah, if you're a Christian, you better cancel those party plans. You better not go. You need to spend more time meditating with me, You need to spend more time God isn't, he's not being that dense about it. It's a little more nuanced in that. And so, like you're saying, God is present. He's with you wherever you go. So he is also coloring then your experience of that party you're going to, right? And that, if I think of my, these Christmas holiday parties I'm going to, if I have that mentality, well, that kind of changes the way I even go to those parties, right? No longer am I going to this holiday party basically because life's super stressful and this would be a good chance because I know these guys, have a good stock of beer and wine and things that help me to not think and then end up having too much of that and acting a fool or waking up next day miserable again. No. Instead, go with God, right? I can go and enjoy the other people who God has connected me to.
Mm-hmm.
I can go and appreciate the delicious things that God has given us in His creation to enjoy. I can even be maybe open or more thoughtful about. And this takes some time to get to, right? So if you're in that place where life is really stressful, it's maybe unlikely that this is going to be your narrative. But if you're at a place where you understand that God is your refuge, He's your strength, He's with you, He's got you. Well, now, where are other people in your midst? Where are the waters roaring and foaming for them? And what can I do to be, a little bit of a safety raft? Or I'm trying to think of something that fits in the Psalm 46 language that basically says, remember who's with you. How can I help embody this reality that we're okay, we're together, we got this.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that's actually the move that I'm going to make. So I'm preaching again this coming Sunday.
Ooh, spoilers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
spoilers.
you guys are double bonus today, guys.
But if you think about it, and those of you who have joined on Wednesday nights when we were drawing these pictures and all this kind of stuff, but I would reason a guess if I were to ask any of you what do you picture when you picture a refuge? I wonder how many of you pick something or picture something that's stationary, and that is just for you,
kind of walled up, holed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think that's how perhaps a lot of us read Psalm 46, where it's like, okay, I'm having this difficult time, this troublesome time. Yes, I resonate with all this. Yeah, I mean, the waters are roaring for me. There are storms in life, and there are enemies attacking me. God is with me. God's going to protect me. Okay, good. I got this nice little
bunker.
Yeah, bubble that I am in. And God's with me, and that's good. But then all of a sudden I look around, and it's like, I'm just in a cave by myself, So I'm curious. Well, I think that's what a lot of us picture. What I would like us to picture, though, is something more of the sort of like, I don't know, a mobile refuge, something that goes with us. God is with us wherever. And that refuge also has an open door, and our call is to go about this life inviting people into that refuge and being peacemakers.
I'm picturing the school bus from The Walking Dead, season 4.
Whoa.
Where they meet Abraham. I don't know if it's season 4. If you watch The Walking Dead, you can correct me. But it's kind of a good analogy, because they're trying to find people who are, not zombies, and to get on this bus and, and go to safety. But yeah, so flesh that out a little more for us.
Well, I think we've been called to be not just at peace with God, which is what Jesus does that for us. Jesus makes us at peace with God. Yeah. But then also to be peacemakers in the world. So knowing that we are at peace, we are to bring that peace and be peace bringers, and invite other people into the refuge that is Jesus.
I hear those people are blessed.
Yeah,
those peacemakers.
Yeah, we've been there before, I think. So yeah, there's a lot of recurrences of themes in the Bible. Believe that, yeah. But yeah, I don't want us, because I think I don't know. I think we do this as Christian people, and sometimes as the church, where it's like, the world's rough out there, Come on in, everybody, quick.
Huddle.
Close the door.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Turn out the lights.
Yeah. Don't let them see us. It's nasty out there.
There's more scenes like that in The Walking Dead, actually. Yeah, I think you're right. Right.
But this refuge of Jesus is for the world. Well,
and that's yeah. I don't want to get ahead of ourselves or ahead of Sunday and thinking about it, but no, I think that's a great point. I think it's very tempting. And this is the insidious thing about, our nature, guys. Hate to break it to you, we got this thing called the sin nature. It's a bummer, because even when you're trying to do good things and right things and holy things, it still creeps in, and we still have to be we have to pay attention to what it wants to do and work against it by the power of God's Spirit only to overcome it. But like you're saying, this is what our sinful, selfish nature wants us to do, is basically say, oh, I have found a haven. I have found a refuge. This is really good and safe for me. I'm so glad I have found this. And then sometimes, and now this is the time when we be a little self-critical and just open yourself to that. You could start by criticizing others because that's easier. But think about people who say, oh, I'm so glad I'm here at this church. I walked by, so-and-so the other day. Boy, they sure could use a refuge like this. I've seen their life pretty messy, But are we going to them? Are we sharing with them? Are we inviting them? It's really easy in the church, and this is what a lot of non-Christians have beef with a lot, is they say the church is hypocritical, and they're right. We have to own that, because that's the whole point of the sin nature. This is a doctrine. We confess this, guys. Of course it's hypocritical, because we recognize and agree with you wholeheartedly that we're not perfect by our own efforts, but we are covered by God's grace. This is why he sees us as perfect, as his children, etc. But we just have to be very thoughtful about that, so that this refuge, which is a good and right thing, and it's good and right that we come and seek shelter in God's house, but that we don't let our sin nature basically just use it for only selfish ends.
Right. Well, and I've heard it said with different metaphors, but basically this is the metaphor that the church is not a country club for the saved, but it's more like a hospital for the sick and the dying.
That's right.
Right. So it's not this exclusive, if
community.
You can afford it, you can be in, and
right, you're good enough,
and then you're good, and those who aren't, well, sorry,
work on this or that a little bit more, and then maybe you can come in. No,
that's
exactly.
that's not the church. The church is more like a hospital for the sick and the dying, and if we can acknowledge that, then we would say to those that we also see who are sick and dying in the world, not just physically but spiritually, come on into this place where Jesus is.
Yeah.
Receive the care that he offers and the life support that he is.
And when we think of those people, like, especially if you can think of somebody like that in your life who is maybe even connected to you, a family member, an old friend, a coworker, again, I think this takes some spiritual maturity. So we're not all ready to go and do this. And so we have to be thoughtful again about where am I in my own faith. But, I would say Jesus, if we're going to be like Jesus often went to where they were. It wasn't even, hey, come here with me to this place. It was, you know what, let me come be with you. Let me love on you for a little bit. What I see that maybe you don't even start by saying, I see that things are going bad for you. And that's maybe not the best start, but if someone comes to mind, what would it look like to walk with them, to give them some of your time, to lend them an ear or a hand? What would it look like to love them? And in that way, you will be extending your refuge to them, right?
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I had this thought. I was going to share it in my sermon, but you talk about like going to people and like Jesus went to people. I mean, that was the image that I used in my sermon of like a parent, seeing the conflict of their children and stepping in and calling a stop to it. So I thought about this too, like a lot of times in conflict situations, a lot of times people actually need like a third party to come in and
a mediator
and mediate for them.
Yeah.
This happens often when nations are at war. So even like with Russia and Ukraine right now, there are other European nations sitting down with the leaders of those nations trying to talk it out and broker and all that kind of stuff. And so a lot of times we need that third party to come in and mediate. And I mean, that's also who Jesus is.
Yeah.
He's our mediator, right, between us and the Father, the one who comes to make peace.
Right.
We are at peace with God through Jesus Christ, Romans says. So we're at peace with God. And that's what the role that I think we can bring in other people's lives. So it may not be like, two other people fighting and we come to, be their negotiator or their mediator. But if you've got a friend, so not all conflict is between two parties. Like a lot of times you're just at conflict with yourself.
That's right. That's what you said this last week, that
Right.
warfare in our minds, et cetera.
Right. And so that's where I think if we can find ourselves having our whole lives, be framed by the refuge that we have in God and the stillness that he's providing us, that peace that he gives to us. Yes, it is good for us, but it is to be given to others. So how can I step into your life and bring the peace of Jesus into your life and help to navigate those things?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you'll find that when you get an opportunity like that and you step in, and if you even sometimes it can happen and maybe you don't even you realize it. Like I've had people where I've been in situations where someone did something for me and I bring it up and they're like, "Oh, I did that? I don't even remember." I don't even remember. But if you have that experience and God gives you the wherewithal to recognize you've had it, you will find that is a more fulfilling experience than, say, that holiday party would have been had you just gone and enjoyed yourself.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's I was going to include that when we were talking about the different holiday parties too, and or all the good things that are in front of us.
Yeah.
If we're just living life for all those things to be good for us, then that's a very selfish way to live and not satisfying in the end. But if those things are opportunities to, live as a peacemaker, bring Jesus into the situation, live as a Christian, bring Christ, then those are more, it's more fulfilling that way. So
yeah, what a gift, to think about giving to whomever you're hanging out with, over the next couple weeks, to be that, because I think that presence too, as I look out at the world, it seems pretty lacking. I'm not going into lots of social situations, and there's tons of people who are like, "Hey, I'm really at peace, and I'd love to listen to you and hear what's going on." I mean, like most of the places I go, it's like everyone's running around and like trying to decide which lane in the grocery store to go in based on shortness and speed of cashier. I'm mostly speaking about my own practices here, by the way.
Do you want to know something that always happens to me?
Tell me.
This is just tangential, but at the store, it's happened to me so many times, where you're in a lane, and then after a little bit, you're like, "Nah, I gotta switch to the other one," and then you question because the other one's moving faster, and then you're like, "All right, I'm gonna do it," and then you switch, and then you look back over, and you realize that if you had just stayed where you were, you would be done, but now somehow it slowed down. So many times that's happened to me.
What are you learning from that, Aaron?
Don't go to the store.
Botch the whole thing all
Walmart pickup.
Yeah, that's true. That's very convenient. I have had that very experience on the freeway a lot.
Oh, yeah.
In traffic.
Yeah.
Especially when I lived in St. Louis. It was like, I want the fastest way possible. And I love to try to like navigate between all the cars.
Would it frustrate? So this is
I love it.
This is Aaron's sin, but
I love
so
it.
it's very frustrating when that happens to me, when I'm trying to rush and I get stopped. But I think it's hilarious when I see other people trying to rush and then they get like boxed in.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Someone who, oh yeah. Well, and that's, honestly what we're acknowledging is two things. One, which we've talked about, is the sin nature.
We have it.
We got it too, guys. So that's the good news, is we're all in this together. Don't applaud the sin nature.
We're in it together.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Yes, applaud community. But the second thing is, which is what you were just saying, is that I don't think that's all bad. Now, okay, if we're laughing at, if we're mocking the person who gets stopped, there's probably something sinnish in there. Yeah. But we also do have this innate sense of justice, right? Where when we see something that isn't good or isn't, is not human flourishing, we like to see it snuffed out. We do. And impatience, we know from the scriptures, that's not how God created us to be. He didn't create us to run around being impatient. He created us like just walking super slow in a garden, no traffic at all. And so I think, there's lots of videos. There's a whole YouTube compilations out there called like Instant Karma or Instant Justice or whatever. And there's something really gratifying about watching them. And I'm not suggesting you go and watch a bunch of those because you can spend your time in better ways. But we do, I think that when someone is acting in a way that's just not great, and then it doesn't work out, that sense is coming from within us because God created us. We're made in the image of God, and He is going to make all things right. We do want things to be right, at our deep core. But the problem is the way we work it out when it gets filtered through the sin nature, it gets all distorted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, this whole idea of being at peace, I think that's what the stillness is.
Yeah.
The stillness is the storms have stopped.
Yeah.
The conflict has stopped. God is God. He's on His throne. We know who He is. We know our proper place. That we are not God.
Yeah.
We're not Lord of our own lives.
Few.
Once that's established, that's a good place to be. And I think that's something that the world is longing for. I think
All of creation.
Yeah.
I mean, you even mentioned that. It's not even just the people, even the earth and the trees.
Right. We need to acknowledge that God is who He says He is, that He is our creator and our sustainer and our giver of life and eternity and forgiveness. And the more that we live life in having that rightness of the relationship established, the more that we will be able to bring it to others and have an open door into this refuge that is Jesus, not slamming the door shut on our refuge, being like, sorry, there's only room for one,
Yeah.
like come on in. I don't have to defend this door from the enemies because even the enemy, they can't get in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and even,
So-
yeah, exactly. I even love them. Love your enemies.
Yeah.
Come on in, boys. And because even if, because I think the fear is always, someone's going to come in and mess up my peace. Jesus is your peace. No one can throw that off. No one can move Him. So I love it, man. It's been fun listening to Psalm 46. I'm kind of curious as you preach this coming Sunday, just even scripturally to see where we go, because I think maybe you'll read the Psalm again. I don't know.
We'll read it again for sure, but
Great. Great.
We'll hop out and look at Jesus as our peace.
Awesome.
For sure. All right, man. Well, as always, it's been good to be with you.
Likewise.
All right.